More than 130 people have now been assessed for risk exposure after a positive rabies test following a dog adoption event near Denver last month.
Of course, that puppy and 11 littermates eventually were euthanized because the state had reversed course on plans to instead quarantine the pups. Well, today the state was explaining the decision for the first time to 9 News reporter Evan Krugel. Evan, it sounds like the state is sticking with their plan going forward.
Yeah, Tom, those 11 families were initially told they could quarantine their new puppies, but were then given orders by the state to give them up to be euthanized. And while the state epidemiologist says she understands the heartache involved here, she says they have no plans to change protocol moving forward.
There he is, little butterfly.
The Bear Creek Greenbelt in Lakewood was supposed to be a special place for Jess Eden, Keith Brick, and their new dog, Masubi.
That boy loved to play.
But less than 2 weeks after adopting the pup, the couple found out one of his litter mates at Moms and Mutts, Colorado, had tested positive for rabies, and that Masubi would need to be quarantined for 4 months.
We knew it was going to be rough. We were kind of trying to figure out if we can negotiate like visitations with him.
Days later, the state changed its mind, ordering they hand over their new pup to be put down.
So it wasn't even like, hey, like we're so sorry about what's happening. It was, hey, we have an attorney that needs to talk to you. It was very much, felt very threatening in the way that they approached everything.
State epidemiologist Rachel Herlihy says the decision was not easy, but necessary for public health.
As we investigated the situation further, we determined that these puppies really had prolonged, repeated exposure to rabies, meaning that many of them were likely to eventually develop rabies. So it was a high-risk situation. Because rabies is such a severe disease, we really have to err on the side of caution.
Dr. Herlihy says the state has no plans to change protocol and will review further situations like this on a case-by-case basis.
When they say we have no problems with what we did, it makes me realize that they actually don't have any empathy or compassion for the situation. They never did. They never intended to probably ever offer a quarantine.
I imagine it doesn't give a ton of comfort to these families, but hopefully for most Coloradans, it is really comforting to hear that these situations are really rare.
Now, at this point, the state says 45 people have been told to get a rabies shot due to possible exposure both at that event and afterwards. This couple, Jess and Keith, says they haven't had any dialogue with the state since they put down Masubi. They're hoping to get that opportunity to try and clear up some of this confusion for other pet owners if this should happen again in the future. In the newsroom, Evan Krugel, 9 News.